Hey, this is Stephen Amell, and you are listening to Tomorrow's Legends, the podcast. Don't fail your city.
You have been through a lot in 9 years, and I'm very proud of you.
The protector of Central City has been running for 9 years, and all the paths that he's taken are about to converge into one last moment.
The whole timeline will be at stake.
Join the Justice League of Superhosts as they keep up with the Flash and share his journey to the final run. Welcome to Tomorrow's Legends and their coverage of the final season of The Flash.
Yes, hello. Well, I was going to say Speed Demons, but it could also be Central City Citizens. That is the tie right now on the Facebook poll. Welcome to Tomorrow's Legends as we have docked the Waverider in Central City for a few weeks. As we heard, there's some time loops happening around here, and anything to do with time is on us to solve. So pull up a seat and settle in as we begin our Season 9 coverage of The Flash, beginning with Episode 1 called Wednesday Ever After. And I am, well, I guess for this show, I'm going to have to be the imposter Flash.
I am the hangry lava monster Silverbox.
And I'm wondering if the blue streaks in not Caitlin's hair mean she's a Blue Lantern now. I'm X-Force 11.
Oh, not Caitlin. Yeah, because we don't know yet.
I'm something else.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's not Snow. She's not Frost. Sleet is one of the comments in the Facebook group.
Yeah.
Freezing rain.
Somebody said that. Well, there you go. What a great start to our first ever coverage of The Flash officially. Let's get into some news.
We interrupt this podcast for a special report.
X-Force is going to load us up here with a few stuff.
Yeah, so we've got a two-parter from Eric Wallace. So the showrunner said Oliver's time on The Flash will not alter his happy ending from his own series. So that's great news.
Was it happy? Happy?
Well, I mean, he and Felicity were together in the wherever they were, so...
well, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they got to be in. Well, it was in their old office building.
That's true.
In his mom's office, so they got to just have their final lookout over the city skyline during the sunset, and that's where it ended. So I'd say
he's happy for him. So.
Yeah, but that's good. That's cool that they're not going to affect that or change that, because that would just kind of make the Arrow finale.
So go back and listen to our last episode on the speculation of how we think Oliver's going to be around. So, yeah,
exactly. And I think part of the same article or somewhere in that article, they were saying that Stephen Amell had requested one specific thing be done in order for him to come back, and he talked about it with the showrunners, and they totally agreed with his idea. So whatever that is, it was on him, and we'll get to see what it is.
Nice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we've got some casting news that came in after our last show. Rick Cosnett, Matt Letcher, and Jessica Parker Kennedy will be returning for the final season of The Flash as Eddie Thawne, Eobard Thawne, and Nora West Allen, respectively.
Wow. That's fun. That's exciting.
It's good to see that we've got all three of them, and it will be interesting to see how they work their different storylines into. I mean, Jessica, I can see that with XS being in there, but having potential reverse Flash or we just don't pre-reverse Flash. I don't know.
Yeah, and I was going to say it's interesting who's not on this list, and I think they're going to pull out. Okay, here's where Tom Cavanaugh fits, and here's where Cisco fits, and Carlos Valdez. So, these kind of mid-level players, I can see them putting out there, right? But it's I think it's going to be a while until we understand how the core characters come back from season one and such.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, well, and I mean, we could put in a little bit of speculation here too, because I think I mentioned Eddie Thawne. I mean, he's the bloodline. He's part of the bloodline. So if he kills himself in season 1, that potentially was supposed to kill the bloodline, but then we know Reverse Flash went back and made, copies of himself and yada, all that stuff. But it still has to come back to Eddie. In order to legitimately have a full, true bloodline continue on in the future, Eddie can't die. So I wonder if someone's gonna go back in time and reverse that outcome, maybe, or is this gonna be time jumping stuff with these guys?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's gonna be cool. But I mean, Flash without Eobard in his final season just wouldn't make sense to me.
No.
So,
yeah.
And then the second part of that Eric Wallace news said that the shorter Flash season cut out the wrap up for Legends. But he said all of the Legends at least are going to appear in an episode. So we will get a cameo from all of the Legends, at least somewhere in the run. So
how does a short Flash season have anything to do with Legends?
Well, when you read the full article, and this is why I was angry, because I went to it and I read the article, he had said that my original plan was to do a full season 9 and then a season 10 of The Flash, and he was going to dedicate a 2-part episode to the Legends, and he was going to tie up all of their stories as a 2-part.
Oh,
and then
okay,
he
that
says,
makes sense.
Oh, but then we got canceled after season 9, and guess what? I had to throw those plans out the window. So that irked me. It's like, oh my gosh, you guys are telling us that you're about to give us what we've all been clamoring for, and then the central rug got yanked out from underneath us. Like, come on, it sucks to hear. But it is, at least we'll get to see them one more time, and that'll make me happy to at least see them. I just have no idea to what extent.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah. But
all right.
Cool. Yeah, well, lots of exciting stuff. I think they're probably saving some cameo appearances as a surprise. I don't think they want to give it all away. There's got to be something that's going to come. Just like Cisco, he hasn't been mentioned yet.
Definitely.
Right? Will he show up? Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, awesome news. Let's get into our general impressions of the show.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
All right, X-Force, start us off.
I gave this one 8 jaunting rogues. So Chester gets props for bringing in one of my favorite sci-fi shows from my childhood, The Tomorrow People. And I'm talking about the BBC Tomorrow People from the 70s and 80s. They called teleporting jaunting, and it was a real cool show. And then the CW did kind of a remake of it way back. But so, I thought that was just interesting. Him being the kind of the sci-fi nerd and the cultural nerd. I'm glad he brought that in. But I thought this episode was a promising start to the season, introducing a rogue as the first villain, and then the chemistry between Barry and Iris that has been lacking for so long, setting things in motion for this season. So I'm really hopeful that they can keep things up and balance things out well. I still don't know how Barry vibrating the bomb prevented everyone and everything in the city from being blown up, but we'll get into that. But I'll chalk it up for now to comic book TV. But I thought it was a good start to the season.
Yeah, Minivox was like, "Say what now?" I'm like, you can't science this stuff. Come on, man.
Learn nothing.
Yeah,
very, very true. Do you want to go next, sir?
Absolutely. All right, so
Silverbox.
I'm giving this one 8.5 lightning rods back on track. I'm just piggybacking off of X-Force's Barry and Iris chemistry, right? This has been sorely, sorely lacking over the last 3 seasons, essentially. We talked about it on our Season 8 recap over on Dive Into DC. We talked about it last week on our Flash preview for the speculation for Season 9. This is something that they had to come back to. This was such the heart of the series in the early going. And then literally in seasons 6, 7, 8, it's like it really doesn't matter. And they were almost always in 2 different places, not connected. And so to find them coming back to this and really setting the beginning of this season in a story that involved just the two of them, I think was just the right way to set the tone for how they need to move forward with it.
Good stuff.
Yeah. I think we're all on the same page with each other. I'm not as high as you guys. I'm giving it a 7 times she should say yes. I'm also on the path of hoping this one started a trend towards some great stuff coming our way. But it didn't start good. That opening with the lava monster and everyone getting jolted and dying was awful. Only Frost did the dying part well. The rest of them seemed like improv actors, and I was thinking at that moment, uh-oh, this is a bad start. But it continually got better and better as the episode progressed through the story, and we actually got, like you guys said, some really good stuff between Barry and Iris, both funny and serious. And it just felt like this kind of fun has been missing for such a long time. So I'm hopeful that it just grows from here and they realize that they don't have enough episodes to course correct, so that we're just going to get good writing from here on out. And that's why I'm leaving room for higher scores. I want to start, a 7's not bad, but I want to leave room for this show to improve and get better as we go. So
yeah, I will say about that opening scene, because I don't think we have it. I didn't put it in the notes anywhere. I really like the team up, but it had me like going, what's going on? Until, everybody starts dying, and I'm like, what's going on? This is a cool team up. I'm like, how much time is going? And then I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it gave a great sense of confusion in the beginning, but. And I'm just nitpicking, like, just the actors. Every time they have to pretend like they're dying and they're screaming in pain, none of them do it that well, except Frost. Danielle Panabaker did it really, really well and made it believable. So I was just poking fun, like, oh my, you got after 9 years, you guys still can't act pain. But anyway, we got lots of good stuff to talk about. Let's get into our talking points for the show.
Gather together from the cosmic reaches of the universe.
So I just want to point out, because we're not really going to talk about him here, but Mark Blaine, that's Killer Frost's boyfriend, the bartender who now was helping her with all her science stuff. He's now in the opening credit sequence. Did you guys notice that?
Yes.
Yeah. He's a regular this season, so yeah.
That's cool. He fit in. It made him look cool. I know we talked about it on our preview show. We all actually thought fairly highly of him, so it'd be cool to see him show up eventually.
And Joe was not in the title sequence anymore.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Really?
Yeah.
That hurt my heart.
Okay, well, we'll save our thoughts, because I know Joe's coming up, but I'm curious about that. Wow.
Well, and not only that, but it was special guest star Jesse L. Martin, and I was like, oh.
Ouch.
Oh, ouch. Yes.
All right.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, let's start our discussion with Barry and Iris. X-Force got a bunch of notes here, but I got the first point I want to throw up is there's virtually no time jump from last season. We speculated about that, how much time is going to have passed, and it was really just 7 days. We got that clear as day. They said, we've had a nice 7 days off. Now it's time to go back to work. Picking up right from where we left off. I was like, oh, wow. That's usually there's some type of time jump between seasons. This is probably the shortest one yet.
Yeah, I think it's good, because I think we don't want to go too far from the events of last season, so that we, get the actual interaction of people dealing with the fallout and everything else, so that, people are like, they handle stuff off screen. And it definitely makes storylines like Caitlin's and that kind of stuff make more sense of like, why hasn't this been resolved in 3-4 months or whatever? Right. So I'm glad they made the time jump short.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right. So first up, Barry has compiled a book of all he knows about the future. And his impetus of doing it is to help guide them and keep them safe. But the issue is that Iris sees this as shackles, and she basically has no free will. And so they really dug into why both of them are seeing this from different perspectives in this episode. But I appreciate how they're bringing it in. And because, honestly, for me, if I had that ability and I'm such a planner, like it would be a temptation for me to like say, okay, these are the steps that we need to take to to go here X, Y, and Z. So I can kind of see where Barry's coming from, but yeah, I can definitely see where Iris is coming from as well too.
Well, and I'm kind of with you there. Like I think if I had to put a percentage on it, I'm about 85% siding with Iris on this, and that surprised me even because I haven't sided with Iris on anything, but yet she was right in this argument here, because who wants to live a life that's all mapped out and you know what's coming? That to me would be pretty unexciting. It would feel like you don't get a choice in your own life. But then I started thinking about Barry's angle. I thought, but maybe you would have things to look forward to if you knew what was coming and it was exciting big things, and you have that to look forward to. Plus, you could avoid any dangers that were coming. If we would all like to know, tomorrow you're supposed to get in a car accident because you hit a bus. Okay, well, I'm not driving tomorrow. There, accident avoided. Right? I think Iris ultimately has the right on this argument, and Barry, I can just understand his points. It does make sense, but I would still choose what Iris was choosing.
Yeah, I'm definitely. But I can also empathize with Barry to say, because this is essentially the same thing they went to with Savitar, right? Is we have to know what the future is going to be so that we can, keep you from dying, Iris, and so on and so forth. So they've been down this road before, and I think the baseline fear that he has of, okay, you have been stuck in this mirror universe. You've been stuck with the Still Force. You've done, all these different things. It's like, I'm going to make sure that those type of things can't happen again. Now, conceptually, I agree. I think Iris is completely in the right, but I totally get where Barry's coming from. If I could keep my family safe from whatever imminent doom is coming their way, I would, and I could, and if I had that ability, I think it'd be really tempting to step in and do that.
Yeah. Temptation is, especially with time travel, the temptation is so strong. Like, who wouldn't want to go to the past and rig the lottery numbers or something for yourself, or lay down $1,000 on a horse race that is going to win, and sure. Whatever. Like, set up your own future. The temptation is huge.
Yeah. Well, and plus, he did this over the course of this week, right? This in between seasons, right?
Yeah.
So you can tell just how committed he is to this, and we talked about before how Barry kind of gets in these it's my way or the highway type thing, and I enjoyed that they kind of went in that direction of his personality again, but it was Iris who brought him back to say, no, we can't do that. And we, there's a better way. And he got on board with it. And I loved that he wasn't just so dogged about it that he pushed everybody out of the way to do it. So I think that to me is character growth and progression. So amen to that.
And that's exactly what you raised as a concern of yours in our preseason episode. You're like, I don't want Barry to bullhead his way through everything. He doesn't even listen to his team. He just does what he wants to do, and it makes them irrelevant. And there you go. Like, immediately they at least made a correction a little bit with his character here. So I agree with you. Yeah. Now I just want to say, it's just a fun point here. I got a few points throughout the notes here tonight because I didn't know where else to put them, but I really like their apartment. I would totally live there. It's a gorgeous apartment.
It is.
Yeah, I like their apartment, but I'm more of the style of their future house, aka Joe's and Cecile's house. Yeah. That's my style of house. I'd like that kind of arts and crafts style house. So you take the apartment, I'll take the house.
Sure. Yeah, we'll just visit each other. Yeah, but I agree. I like Joe's house too. That to me, it's like 80s architecture kind of thing, which reminds me of my childhood. So I do like that too. But yeah. And then a point that I laughed. I watched this episode twice to prepare for it, and it got me laughing pretty hard both times when Barry kisses the back of her head when she's sitting down at her little makeup desk or whatever that is. He kisses the back of her head and then he scoots off, and her hair really gets messed up and it's all over her face. And just like the actress, she just looked so annoyed by that. Like, oh my, how many years? And it made me laugh. It made me laugh. Usually that kind of thing isn't that expressive in like a humorous kind of way, but I don't know, for some reason the way her hair really got messed up and the expression on her face, that got me both times. Like, that was funny. But like you guys were saying, like we all said in our opening monologues, we got really great scenes with Barry and Iris this episode that got better as the episode went along. They just kept, it's like they were building the chemistry as they went. Like, they found that spark and then they ran with it. It's like, holy cow, like this is a connection we have not seen on the show in a long time, which is what I complained about in our preseason episode. I said, these two don't have believable chemistry. Like, I just don't feel it. And here they found that spark and it grew throughout the episode, and for the first time in a long time, I was enjoying Barry and Iris together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When they resolve the situations and they're together doing it, like, that to me was like, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
That's how it should be. So
yeah, definitely.
So what is that gun that Iris uses on the bad guy and Joe had some type of cannon in the beginning? Like, what are those guns? It's not. What's the one that Iris is carrying?
It's an anti-meta dampening field, basically. Oh. So it takes out their powers temporarily, or forever if they're hit hard enough.
Yeah, and I was wondering, especially the one about that Iris was holding, if it may have been one of the ones related to, like, the light metas, like Dr. Light or Ultraviolet. Well, it wouldn't be Ultraviolet, but, one of those, because it looked like a similar style. But, yeah, it was interesting.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I couldn't place it. I couldn't remember if we had seen that before, or if this was maybe an upgraded version of it, or what. I'm not sure, but
I think it's something Cisco probably made years ago.
Yeah. They always have tons of tech, so yeah. Curious. And another question for you guys. Those pink bed sparkles that were pouring out of the bed and filling the room and all, what is that supposed to represent? Is that something we talk about later in the notes, or can we bring it up here?
I put in here, so it took me a little bit to catch that too. But you see the pink sparkles first coming out of the mobile accelerator, and then you see them later coming out of the bed. I don't
remember seeing them coming out of the accelerator.
Yeah, they were very small there. They were just very small there.
Okay.
And so later on, Chester talked about how, like, Barry's, I don't remember it all, but basically Barry's speed interacted with the mobile accelerator, and, science comic book stuff, put them in the temporal loop, because he could tell both Barry and Iris were affected by it. So
So then what do we say those sparkles were representing? Because they were pouring out of the bed. And I was like, is that something leaking from Barry? What is that?
I don't know. I just took it as something he was exposed to, and then shared it with Iris as such, being in proximity. And I keep thinking that it has something to do with, because even though they tossed the book, they still talked about how she's going to be pregnant in 3 months. Yeah. So they're holding on to that. So I have a feeling that we're going to probably come up with that again as we move on down the road a little bit with these two.
Okay, yeah, that's why I wanted to know what you guys, because the only thing that I could visualize in my head is all those pink sparkles flowing out was basically whatever energy is coming from them as a result of being near the accelerator, that was flowing out into the world, into their world, into their universe, and was resetting the day to begin the loop. That's what I was thinking. It's the energy is like, okay, this moment we're in right now is going to continually reset every time you die, and that kind of leads into my next question: is how did that time loop begin? Because I don't remember getting an explanation as how it actually started.
Yeah, other than just the interaction with the accelerator that first time, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we didn't actually get a full-on explanation. It just happened.
Blood device.
Okay, and I'm fine with it. I mean, I just thought maybe I missed it, but I'm fine with not knowing every detail about it. I was just curious. So, this episode, it was done well enough in a way that part doesn't bother me, whereas other times in previous seasons it'd be like, oh, come on, give us the answers. This one was a fun enough episode that I actually went on without needing to know. So, okay, cool.
Yeah. So during this day, we see it's a big day job-wise for both of these two. So Barry is up for the Director of Central City Police CSI Division. And then we hear that Allegra, at Barry's suggestion, kind of brokered a deal with Cat Grant to buy the Citizen and give Iris her media empire. So we see both of their quote-unquote daytime job career aspirations being walked out here.
See, I didn't even know there was a chief position above Barry's. We've only ever seen him in there. So I'm like, oh, really? I thought he was the top guy. Like, the CSI had one or two people in the office. That was it. I had no idea there was a chief position, that he had a boss above his head, because we've never seen a boss.
Right.
So what could change in his job then if he gets it? Does he no longer work in the lab? Is he now the boss of the actual CSI scientist?
So I imagine his office will still be probably in that building, but he will probably report directly to Chief Singh at this point, rather than Kramer.
Okay.
Would be how I would. So Singh probably has chiefs of different divisions in the chief of police office. So that's how I see it. So
and I think basically it frees him up, because instead of having to do all the field work, he's overseeing the CSIs, and he is not out in the trenches, and he's a little more free to come and go than he would be, where, okay, I'm on shift, I have to be here. How am I going to do that and also go solve this issue over here? So I think it's a step up in that, as far as the position, but it also frees him up to do more as the Flash.
Okay, do we like that, though? Because I think we've all talked in the past that we like when he gets to be a CSI and he's out in the field investigating and doing stuff. So do we like them taking that away?
I don't think I've watched enough CSI to know that the supervisors are still out in the field. They're just not like, they're not assigned to cases. They're assigning the cases, but they're still doing the work, and they're still using those skills, but they're just not, he's not gonna draw like attention for coming onto the crime scene late and trying to get out of things, and where is he at and why hasn't he done XYZ. I think he's still going to be in the field, and they definitely in this episode set him up in that detective and looking into things mindset. So I think we're still going to see that. He's just going to have a little more freedom there.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. Agreed.
Cool. Well, and then moving on to your point about Iris and the Citizen being sold to Cat Grant, I guess that's a natural progression for Iris' story, and I'm okay with that. I just wish we had gotten more of the investigative journalist Iris in previous seasons, instead of spend the day at Star Labs bossing the team around Iris, because you guys know I didn't like that part. I really wanted to, because that's where Iris was different than Lois Lane. Like, she got herself into sticky situations and trouble because she was brave, and Flash was often coming to help her out, but she'd also solve things that Flash couldn't figure out. She'd find the clues and find the answers, and that's how they worked together. And I just wish we got more of that. But this story, it makes sense. Okay, she had her own blog for a while, and then her own magazine or whatever, and now it's exploding into an empire, and that's fine. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. Green Butterfly wanted me to mention here that she was thrilled, we both were, about the Cat Grant shout out.
Oh, and, yes.
So, and it's those little tiny nuggets that reward us for investing in the entire Arrowverse along the way. And so I love that they gave that little shout out there. So.
Yeah.
Did you have your fingers crossed that she might make a quick appearance? try to
For
broker
sure.
a deal.
I did, I didn't go back through the credits. Like, is Callista in here?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
No. But
Still, yeah, it is fun. It's these little connections that mean a lot. So,
yeah.
All right, next up, now breaking this episode up into sections was hard, but so we'll talk more in depth about Captain Boomerang later. But Barry meets up with Captain Boomerang, who is well equipped with tech, and he's more than a match for the Flash. So, it was just interesting to see, a rogue who could go toe to toe with the Flash and kind of catch the Flash off guard a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I know he comes up a couple times, but I just want to bring up a couple points here. Like, it's a new Captain Boomerang, which I think is cool. You're bringing in an original rogue to start us off on this new season of The Flash, and that's a fantastic idea. Bring a rogue that we all know has been part of Flash's history. I liked his look. He was recognizable and classic, but also had that new twist to his uniform, and it was great. It was a great-looking Captain Boomerang. And the actor playing him, I don't know the guy's name, but he's from that sci-fi show, The 100. And if you guys haven't watched The 100, Richard Harmon.
Yep.
The 100 is one of my favorite sci-fi adventure shows, and he plays a jerk at it. He's really good at being a jerk, and it makes sense that they bring him in for a bad guy here. And I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, I didn't watch that show, but he was on several episodes of that show, The Killing. I forget which season, and so I kind of recognized his face, but I couldn't remember where from until then. But like, what role he played in there, I'm really fuzzy because I hadn't watched that but once. So
yeah, I think his character's name was Murphy on the 100. And if you guys don't know what the 100 is, it's basically a Lord of the Flies story set in the future, and it's so good. The 7 seasons and the lengths of storytelling that show goes to, it blows me away. Just fantastic sci-fi. It's great. Nice. But I want you guys to think about something here. If not for the time loop, Barry actually gets killed here. In one quick move, Captain Boomerang is able to blow him up.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of what you were saying. It's like a rogue that can stand toe to toe. So I want to figure out how. Like, was that the nuclear bomb going off and he was just caught in it at ground zero? Is that what kills the Flash? Like, that it's crazy to me that he actually loses a fight and dies, essentially. If it's not for the time loop, Flash is gone.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely the nuclear blast.
Okay.
Does him in. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it, and that's the second go round. Because the first go round, Boomerang just teleports off, and Barry's like, "We'll worry about him tomorrow. I've got a date with Iris."
Right.
And then, but the second go round is when he gets killed, and so I don't know if that was the nuclear bomb or not, what, but
it's crazy.
Yeah.
And a question here: how does Boomerang teleport? They didn't tell us how. Like, how is that? Just technology? Because I didn't see him activate anything. He didn't pull out a switch. He just vanished when he decided to.
I think that's tech from the Big Bad, which I'm sure we'll talk about soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Cool.
All right. So let's talk about Joe, Cecile, and Team Flash here a little bit, because we're dealing with Cecile, and she's can read minds, and now she's telekinetic. And at least they're showing her training in her powers now, where we've just gotten, okay, she's got to do X, we're going to write her to do X, and we're not going to see any lead into that. So at least we're seeing her kind of fail at it and like growing and training in her skills.
Yeah, that's much more acceptable. I mean, we've all seen telekinetic powers on TV shows and movies before. Professor X from the X-Men, whatever. Or, no, I guess not Professor X, Jean Grey. And, she can now move objects with her mind. That's a believable superpower, and I like that she has to practice at it. She's not just instantly great at it, as a plot device to beat the villain or beat the whatever it is they're doing, solve the problem. She's developed something new. It's a very believable power. I got to move objects with my mind, but I got to learn how to control it. great.
Yeah.
Tone her down a little bit, because she was always the convenient answer in the last 2 seasons, which bugged me.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
All right, so we get Allegra and Chester starting their romance, and kind of surprising to both of them. But I am fine with it. I'm actually happy for them. I'm kind of pulling for them after last season, and so I'm kind of interested to see where this will go.
About time. I mean, they've been talking around it for, I don't know, it seems like years. But yeah, it was. It's definitely satisfying. Although I'm afraid that as they pulled away and we're like, "Uh-oh, what have we done?" I hope that doesn't make things really awkward and weird.
Because that's how they've been for so long, is awkward and weird, instead of just expressing what they feel. And but yeah, it was a fun kiss in the moment for them. I liked how they acted, and I liked it. It felt natural. It felt good. Nothing was forced on us, and that's the biggest difference I noticed in this opening episode. Is nothing felt forced. Everything just felt natural and part of the story, and it felt good. I haven't felt good about the Flash in a couple seasons, and I really enjoyed a lot of this one. So good on them. And I mean, they did, when Barry was talking in a later scene, he was talking about him and Iris and their future together. Chester and Allegra did kind of sneak a look at each other, like, oh, like, what about our future? You could see them both thinking the same thing. But here's a question: does Chester get paid to stay at Star Labs all day? Because he doesn't do anything else, right? So is that a paid job for him to just stay in the lab? Because I don't see him doing anything else.
Yeah, they answered this question many seasons ago. How because Barry is now owner of Star Labs, he has this unlimited bucket of money that goes along with it, and I don't fully understand it. But yeah, I think he takes care of Caitlin and Chester and everybody else who just hangs around there all the time.
Oh, okay, so, because I have a question later on about where does Star Labs get the money from. So let's just answer that now. So it's Barry because it was Eobard that left him Star Labs, or was it Harrison Wells, the original? No. Again,
I don't remember the details, but I just remember that it fell into ownership with Barry.
Yes.
And then...
which also led to the Hall of Justice that he has on another property.
Yeah. Yeah. It eventually becomes the Flash Museum, the whole bit. So,
So it's just got money? Like, is it like savings, or is it continually bringing money in? Because they're not doing anything anymore,
I think there's patents and other stuff like that. And I wonder if there are workers that are there that we just don't see because they're going about their everyday today stuff, and we're only seeing like the super secret areas. I don't know. Maybe they have that location for them, and there's satellite, like buildings around the city where other things are going on. That's like their headquarters, but there's other labs going on. I don't know.
Well, Star Labs is countrywide. They have like a Star Lab in all the major cities. So does Barry own all of those too? Because that would be a source of income, right?
Yeah, I would assume so.
Huh. Okay, so talking about all this money, you know what I'm going to ask. Why is it not fixed yet?
I was thinking the same thing on my second watch. I'm like, we're 9 seasons in, and they still haven't finished repairing the roof on this thing. Like, I'm waiting for like the last second of the episode where we flash like 5 years in the future, like I talked about last year, and on the last episode, and we finally see that the roof of Star Labs is finished.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even Barry could do it. He could probably finish it in less than 30 seconds. He could build the roof up again. He is the Flash. Yeah.
At this point, I think that it's just there purposefully and forever.
Maybe that's their cover. Maybe nobody does work there. It's like, nope. Star Labs blew up, it's shut down permanently, and it allows them to do their Team Flash stuff without anybody ever coming around to see otherwise.
Yeah, maybe. At least they're not keeping people prisoner in it anymore. So.
Yeah. Then again, we also joke all the time that the door just seems to be wide open for anybody to come in.
Yeah.
True.
Well,
true.
So Flash, like you talked about at the beginning of this episode, that we're, permanently, we're docked, in Central City now.
Yeah.
I'm picturing us like Deep Space Nine. We're the Waverider is docked to one of the towers on the top of Star Labs.
Yeah.
We're just cloaked, so you can't see it.
Can't see it. We're cloaked. Yeah, that's where we are. So we can watch Flash zipping in and out. Oh, there goes the red streak again. There you go.
Yeah.
So, and then along the job question, does Allegra just skip out on the Citizen to be at the lab? Because she suddenly just appears there to work with Chester, and it's like still the middle of the day. Isn't she working for Iris? So I was just kind of questioning that. Like, maybe she's got a dual job. Maybe she's only part-time. I don't know.
Well, she's technically in charge of some people now, so
Yeah.
I guess she can slip off and...
Or just say she's working remote or whatever.
Yeah.
So how far, what's the travel time from Star Labs to the Citizen? The Citizen's downtown, Central City, is it not? So I'm wondering... I mean, we'll never get answers. I'm just thinking, I'm trying to plot out the map of Central City in my own mind.
You're too technical there, Flash.
I'm sure there's like high speed, shuttle underneath the ground that can take it from the Citizen to.
All right, cool. Well, we've never covered the Flash, so these are questions that I have and things I always think about. Get them out of the way now, and whatever. I won't ever bring them up.
Do these things keep you up at night? I'm just curious.
No, it's only while I'm watching.
So, I want to talk, and we'll talk more about him later, but Joe wants to move the family out of Central City. So, I'm guessing his absences this season will be explained by him house hunting in other places in the U.S., and that, I guess, explains how Barry and Iris have the house to raise the kids in. What do we think about this? I mean, as a way to kind of get Joe off, since he's obviously the actor is filming another series. So what do we think about this as a plot device?
It makes sense to me. I mean, that does explain, it gives a very valid answer to why he would be leaving. Central City's unsafe. He wants to raise his new kid and just keep everybody safe, because he's obviously worried about Cecile and everything she's practicing and doing, and he's like, you know what, it's just too dangerous. Like, can we just settle down? I'm retired. I'm ready to call it quits. That's 9 years of the superhero business, or whatever he says there. So it makes sense. I mean, I'm fine with the story. Of course, I don't want to lose Joe. Joe's amazing, but I'm wondering if he's not quite gone yet, because that just seemed too quick to me. The opening episode, they're going to write him off. I think they just started the conversation, so there should be a little bit more development. Like, he might be in the next 2 episodes before he's actually gone, because you're right. He has to house hunt. He's not just going to, see ya, I'm out of here, I'm thinking about this, boom, gone.
Well, and I thought that was handled really, really awkwardly. Like, he gave zero explanation, because he looked like he was really worried about something. And after all this, I don't know if he's thinking this is just too much stress, too much, excitement as such for the family, and I just can't take this with Jenna growing up, and not that she was even mentioned. I mean, whatever. Yeah, that baby you had. Yeah. But I just thought this was really not written well. Like, for the rest of the episode, like you said, to go so organically and smoothly and all this, that was a clunker of a scene. Yeah. And, Flash, I know you've got a note in here about, is Jesse just done?
Yeah, I don't know why he's actually done.
Well, he's moving on to move on to an NBC drama called The Irrational. And so he has to free up his schedule in order to do that, and I think it's going to be a mid-season replacement over on NBC. So that was the technical reason why Jesse L. Martin needed to move on. But the way they clunkered that scene to say, I feel like we need to leave Central City, I don't see them removing Cecile, and so. Yeah. They need to be really careful at this point how they explain how Joe's not around. And if house hunting is it, okay, I can deal with that. But I just thought if they have him gone and her behind and they don't handle it well, I'm not going to be happy at all.
Yeah.
So I really I don't know if that was an editing thing, like it just got cut for time, but they needed more there for me.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, I agree with you there, because like when they first kind of tease it at the beginning with the football scene, I'm thinking like, is he? Are they going to do some type of cancer or illness issue, and that's what he's got on his mind? And then, like, yeah, like I agree. I don't think it was fleshed out enough. Like they could have like teased it a little bit this episode, and then the next episode, bring things to give it a little more time in, to move that plot. And yeah, I agree. I don't know how they can have Iris being there and I don't know how they can have Cecile there and have her as such an essential part of Team Flash, and and him not be there. So I just don't know how they can kind of work that really well. So I'm hoping that they do a little better next time in kind of giving us like a sit down between the two of them and saying, why are you feeling this way? Like, how can we as a family get together and make this work so that I can transition out of my work here in Central City and be with you? So I'm hoping that they give a little more detail as the season goes on, so it feels more organic.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I mean, on those thoughts, like, how could they write Cecile? Like, how could they, if he's going house hunting, he's looking for new places, is she going to get mad at him saying, no, I'm just developing my powers, I'm becoming a superhero, I want to stay here? Are they going to go that route, or is she going to be like, okay, not. We need to raise our kid, I'll agree with you, let's go on, and then she just protects them in their new town, and my guess would be they just move across the river to Keystone City. Because I don't know where else they would go, because
this needs to be a very uncomplicated story point. They have 12 episodes left. This does not need to take up a lot of time, a lot of energy,
right,
a lot of any of it. So they need to handle it deftly and efficiently. And so far, they didn't start out on that foot.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so what would you guys prefer for Cecile then? She's just like, okay, I agree, and off they go? Like, does that mean we won't get her much this season?
No. She's definitely going to be in all the episodes, for sure. I mean, she's still part of the like we talked about, the opening sequence and the title sequences and all that. So she's going to be around. So again, this needs to be handled better than the way it has been so far. So
yeah.
Okay. I guess we'll see what they do. That's all we can say.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about Boomerang and Red Death. So here's something I just don't understand, is Captain Boomerang has been on the series before. This is a different actor playing Captain Boomerang, but it's like Barry is just meeting him for Captain Boomerang for the first time, and I'm just like I know we went through the whole crisis and worlds merge, and that may explain like why there would be a different person being Captain Boomerang, but the way that kind of Barry acted towards Boomerang was just, I don't know, it just felt different to me.
I know Barry did say, oh, a new Captain Boomerang, great. So he infers that the previous one was there. He's acknowledging that this is a new one playing the same bad guy part, but it's like Captain Boomerang 2, like we've had two versions of different characters before. So he is acknowledging that this is a new Boomerang, so someone else has taken up the mantle, I guess is a good way to describe it, although they didn't give us a lot of details. They didn't give us any backstory as to why this guy's here. Why did he take up the mantle? It's just, he's
I go back to Cisco's notebook where he has all the trading cards of all the different all the different villains that they've dealt with, and he's got like the pre-crisis cards and the post-crisis cards and all that, and so that's I just chalked it up to Crisis.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I missed the whole new, but that's good to say.
Yeah, I think that's when he first arrived. When he first saw him, he's like, "Oh, great, a new Captain Boomerang," and he's, no worries, you can throw as many of those sticks as you want at me. I'll just stop you anyway. It was somewhere in that whole line. But do we think this guy's going to return? Because he teleported out, and that was it. They never stopped him. Never caught him. Will he come back?
Yeah, I think he's going to be in this collection of rogues that Red Death is putting together.
Yeah. I know we had talked about in our preseason speculation that Red Death would be collecting rogues to her bidding, and I think he is just the first one that we're seeing. So I think she is picking ones for parts of her plan. So you've mentioned Red Death a couple times, and now you're saying her and she. So before we talk about our speculation about Red Death, how about you tell us what the heck a Red Death is? Because I think a lot of people are going to be going, what is Red Death? And why was she looked like Reverse Flash? Well, I mean, it didn't sound like a woman to me at all. It sounded like Reverse Flash with the vibrating and the deep voice. And then when she jumped at the screen, it became a Batman symbol with the flash lightning bolt down the middle. I was like, what? Because I don't have any history with Red Death. All I know is that you guys told me it's coming. Right. So what the Flash is doing is what Arrowverse has done, is taking villains and putting their own spin on them.
Yeah.
So Red Death is from Earth 52. And in that world, Batman just got tired of, trying to prevent crime and trying to protect his Robins and things like that. And he always just felt he wasn't fast enough to stop things. So basically what he does is he takes the Flash's rogues, confiscates all their weapons, and uses them in a fight with the Flash, and they go into the Speed Force using the Batmobile merged with the Cosmic Treadmill. Like, it's this very comic book storyline. But basically, he absorbs the Flash's powers and Barry a little bit too. And when he comes out, he's basically got a red, crimson suit that looks like the Flash, but it is the bat symbol with the lightning bolt in the center, kind of what we saw.
Yeah.
And so, he is very much a anti-hero, less, very different from the Batman that we know. And so what the Arrowverse is doing is, since we don't really have an on-screen Batman, they have taken Batwoman and putting her in that role. And so, whether we get to see an origin story of how Red Death got her speed, because obviously she hasn't at this point. Maybe she's, I don't know if she's traveling back into the past to make it happen. We don't know. But somehow she's gotten the speed and she's after Barry. So, it's going to be interesting to see how they take and explain how that version of, Batwoman got those powers and what the motivation is. So, I'm very interested to see how they take it from what we saw of her on Batwoman to where we are now, and
is it connected?
Where that works.
I know it's the same actress, but are they saying that the Batwoman from her own TV show has somehow become Red Death? It's that character.
So my limited understanding, is that we saw Batwoman come into in the first 5 episodes of season 8 was the Armageddon event, right? And we saw Javicia as Batwoman come into the Flash's universe, and she was there in the wedding ceremony with Harrison Wells and Iris and everything. And so my understanding is that they're jumping off of that point and then somehow she's going to, and I think that's what you're getting to, Jeff, is we're going to get to see how that appearance tied into whatever happened to her, that now she is this Red Death. But definitely the same character, the same actress, everything.
Wow.
And so, something has happened to her to put her in this position.
Yeah. So we need that origin. We need to see that to understand it, and we need to know, why is she now after Barry? I mean, there's nothing between the two of them, so why does she suddenly want to build up this team to take him out?
Yeah. She wants him alone, is what she says.
Interesting.
He's never alone, but she wants him alone. So
see, comic book science, I love. Like, that's the kind of stuff I love about comic book science, is they can create something like that. That is such a creative idea. Batman going into the Speed Force and having all the weapons, and it just somehow combines to get him to absorb. Like, it's fun. That's fun kind of stuff that makes comic book sense to me. So the story I have, it's kind of like a little side story. As soon as I saw that Batman symbol with the lightning bolt in it, I want to lay claim that I beat DC to the punch years ago, because you guys know, if from my profile picture, I used to dress as the Flash in cosplay when I used to go to the Comic-Cons and stuff. An old girlfriend of mine, she used to dress as Batwoman. So the two of us would go to the Comic-Con together dressed as our characters, and we'd do all kinds of photo shoots and stuff. Well, we wanted to make a short film, a Batwoman and Flash short film, and we actually filmed the opening sequence. And I'll have to see if I can find it and show it to you guys. But it's just a little moment of the two of us together, back to back, and I created the Batman symbol with the Flash lightning bolt in the middle, almost exactly as we saw it, and that's our logo for the opening movie. I was like, what? And it just brought that memory back. I'm like, oh man, that looked like my symbol I made. Copyright infringement, damn it, DC. So there you go.
Send your letter to James Gunn.
Yeah. Here's a timestamp on my video. Way ahead of yours. But then they turn around and me, you're copywriting DC material, so you're kind of going to go to jail. All right.
So, we talked about this. So, what is their plan, and where is she getting the tech from? Like, who is her supplier from the tech? Is she stealing this tech? Is she bringing this tech from the future? I'm just wondering, because it's pretty advanced tech, especially the teleportation. So I'm wondering about that.
So a couple of speculations. The first one could be as easy to explain as Lucas Fox, who was part of the Batwoman universe, right? He could be putting things together for her. I think that was his name, wasn't it?
It's Lucius Fox's son.
Yeah,
I believe so.
So that could be one explanation. The other could be that she is in league with Cobalt Blue, who is supplying some of this tech, since he's not really of this time and place. So yeah,
good point.
Okay,
I hadn't thought about that.
I've got those thoughts, like, what's her connection to Barry? Why does she want to kill him? And my question is she an inventor, scientist type that can make this tech? Because I don't remember, the little bit of Batwoman I watched, I don't remember her being like that. No. But we all know that Bruce Wayne was a very heavy techie guy, so maybe she just learned stuff from him. I have no idea. So I had those questions.
She just borrowed all of his tech.
Okay. Cool. Well, again, the Cobalt Blue thing comes into question. I mean, we've had no hints of that. If that's coming or not, we're all speculating he's going to be here. But yeah.
Oh, he'll be here.
He will be here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Crazy.
All right. So it's interesting speculation all around, and I'm excited to see where this is going to go with more and more rogues that she gathers together, and how it's going to play out in this first half. So it'll be fun.
Yeah.
So, going back to what the story you guys were telling me about, why you said Batman was originally tired of not being able to beat all of his villains, and he wanted to get the speed from Barry and all that. But why? So why did he get in a fight with Barry? Did he ask Barry, "Hey, can I use you for an experiment?" And Barry said no, and then he's like, "Well, fine, I'm just going to take it." Like, what? Why would they be fighting each other? They've been friends in the Justice League for a long time.
Well, this is a different world, and it's part of.
Oh yeah, you're right. 52, he said.
It's a world. It was part of what's called the Dark Multiverse.
Okay.
So it's the same one with the Batman who laughs, and different ones. So there's it's a different kind of reality of things like that. So that's why I'm thinking it's a little bit different. Their relationships are different.
Okay. All right. Cool. I forgot all other worlds. DC's got as many multi-worlds as Marvel does.
All right, so let's get in and talk a little bit about the snow frost speculation, because she says she's neither snow nor frost. Who is she? Is she an amalgamation of both of those characters, or is she a totally different person? Who is she? So, because we don't yet have a name.
I like the no Caitlin name. That's funny.
Yeah,
not Caitlin. Yeah. My question is she a cross of the two? Is she a genetic child of them both? Like, she's the genetic offspring of them both. And will this last all season and we're never going to get Caitlin back? Or is this just her story for this final season? We have to figure out who she is. Can we trust her? Is she good? Is she bad? And eventually by the end, we get Caitlin back. Those are my questions when we see this new version.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting that Blaine he's had a bad reaction when he saw her at first come out of the chamber she was in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't there with her when she was in Star Labs. So I have a feeling that she's come to Star Labs without his knowledge, which could be dangerous. Doesn't have to be, but could be. So I think she's definitely a loose cannon at this point in terms of we don't know what to expect here.
Yeah, and from the promos, it looks like we're going to delve a little bit into that next episode. So that's good that they're kind of leading. They teed it up at the end of this episode, and we're going to continue it in next episode.
Yep.
So I got two questions.
Mm-hmm.
One, it threw me off because I don't think, like, she was standing there at Star Labs and she used Caitlin's phone to signal Barry with the emergency signal, and he just walked in there like, "Caitlin, are you okay? You used the thing. Did you need me?" Isn't he first surprised that Caitlin's standing there? Because as far as he knew, Caitlin is back at her apartment in the science chamber trying to solve this whole thing. So I just found his reaction just seemed a little too naturally like, okay, Caitlin's here. She's supposed to be here. That felt a little off to me. And then,
as far as he knows, Caitlin is with her mother. Not around. And so that was where they last left her. Mm-hmm. So for her to be there at all, he's a little bit shocked. I think that's where that came from. So
okay. Yeah. And then the other question I had is, well, what was the feeling you guys had when she turned around and started talking to Barry? Did you feel suspicious, or did you feel, oh no, she's going to be okay?
I don't know. I felt like she had intentions behind. I mean, obviously she was calling him for a reason, but it felt like that she somehow had the upper hand and had, reasons and intentions that I don't know were the best. I don't know. That's just kind of the feeling. I didn't get like, this is the new me, or something else like that. So I don't know. It just kind of left me wondering and a little bit curious to see, because I just don't know that I trust her.
Yeah, I agree. It was, oh boy, this is another whole plot point that we're going to have to, follow down. So,
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, it's just the sneak. It's the sneak peek at what's coming for her, and now we got to wait for the story to develop with that. So, yeah.
So I'm wondering, does she have powers? And if so, what? Because Frost had powers. Caitlin, yes, but she didn't really, she shunted those over to Frost, and Frost used the powers. So Caitlin had them, but she never really acted on them as Caitlin. She let Frost act on those things. So do we think she's got powers, and if so, are they different than what Frost was using? I'm just wondering.
I mean, the easy assumption is ice powers, but because we don't know if she's a cross of the two or what she is, it obviously it's got to be cold related. If she has ice powers, it's going to be cold related, but to what extent? Are they supercharged frost powers? Are they weakened frost powers?
Yeah, they're not going to demote her as such, right? To not having powers. But yeah, I mean, you could speculate all day long.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're just not going to know until at least this week. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tune in next week.
Yeah. Cool, guys. Well, I got some random thoughts here at the end of our show notes here that I didn't know where else to put them in. So I'm going to run a few of these by you, and you guys can give me your responses. We already answered the question about where Star Labs gets their money from, so I'm going to skip that one. This one is one that is a nitpick for the Flash show overall, and I just want to bring it up and see what you guys think here. When they're in the lab figuring things out in this episode, Chester is wondering what Boomerang was after, what was in that accelerator thing. And Barry leaves for a split second and comes back with the glowing green gadget. Like he went to another building, broke inside, robbed them, and came back before the rest of the team could even take a breath. So why is it he can do that in no time flat, yet we always see him running through the city for minutes at a time? We're like, Barry, you need to go check out this factory. Something's happening there. And then we get this super long sequence of Grant Gustin in slow motion moving his arms, and it seems to take him like 30 seconds to get to this other building. You know, like he's on the same street and he's running straight ahead, but it's not an instant like he just proved that he can do. Or when a bad guy, when they're in a room fighting a bad guy, and the bad guy like blows something up and then runs out of the room, and Flash like shakes his head like, ugh, and then he runs out of the room and he's like, I can't find him, he's gone. Well, the bad guy just left the room. Why can't you find him? To me, there's always been this imbalance to how they show his speed and the ground that he can cover, and that just bugs me. And it was apparent here because he just proved that he could go rob probably from a high security building science place to get this gadget, and yet he can't catch a bad guy that just left the room 2 seconds ago. So I don't know. What are your feelings about all of that?
So the Flash runs at the speed of plot. he run the Speed Force allows him to run just as fast as the plot needs.
That's right.
I don't know. The going to get the other device, I can say, well, maybe there's an innovation quarter where all the labs are at, and so he just had to run like across the road to that other lab and grab it and run back. But like everything else, no, I don't. Other than he runs at the speed of plot. So that's
to be fair though, he's done this day at 50 some odd times at this point, so he knows where this thing is, right? Okay. So it's not going to take long to figure out and go and get it. And as to your other points, we're only 18 minutes into the episode, so I can't go fast enough to find anybody if he's just left the room. I mean, we need to be at the 40-minute mark before I can actually go fast enough to find him.
And I mean, and the speed that he can run at when he is running down the streets of Central City, he's always on one street, and we get that slow-mo of Grant Gustin running. He would be clear across the country in the amount of time they're showing us. Cisco, are you sure? Where is it? Yes, Barry, it's at factory number 3 on blah blah blah. And he, it's just, he's just like, man, you'd be wrapping around the world already. So that's what I mean. It's just always a funny imbalance in their speeds. Anyway, now here's another question. Have they ever explained about when he runs, if whatever he's wearing is protected by some type of energy field or something, and anything that he carries, whether it's objects or people? Because when he was with Iris and he's like, I need some air, he's in his civilian clothes, and we get the slow motion of Grant Gustin running down the street in his civilian clothes, and he's carrying the notebook. So to me, I'm thinking his flash suit we know is designed by Cisco. It can handle the friction, but civilian clothes would not. So I'm picturing, and I don't want to picture this, but he would have shown up at Joe's completely naked. Because his clothes would have burnt up, right? And the book would have been blown apart for sure. So, I mean, okay, comic book science hand wavy moment. That's probably all it is. But
well, so here's my thoughts on it. Whether they've explained this or not, I think like he can extend a Speed Force bubble around him if he is carrying stuff or not wearing stuff, and that allows him to carry those type of things without burning them up. But it also saps the speed that he can run and maybe the maneuverability. You think of it as like wind resistance, like you know, he's got a bubble around him and he's extended that out, and so it's less aerodynamic now. So he's got to slow down. He's using more energy to bump that out. But when he's just by himself, he's got that bubble, you know, really tight or not even around him at all, and that's why he needs a suit. Yeah. So that's my kind of in-universe explanation of, you know, like he's going to have to go a little bit slower if he's carrying Iris with him because he's extending that Speed Force bubble out. But like if he's chasing down another speedster, like he's not going to have that Speed Force bubble at all. He's just going to let the suit work for him. So I don't know.
Hey, that's totally acceptable. I like that because if he's grabbing Iris to save her and he's taking off at Mach 25, like there's not going to be much left to her when he comes to a stop, right?
Yeah.
So and that's interesting. I don't know if they've actually given us the description word for word or anything. So I know from things we've discussed before, comic book science, it has been explained. So, yeah, because I had to laugh at myself. Yeah, you would have been at Joe and Cecile's dinner naked in your civilian clothes. Anyway, one cool thing that I did like is when he threw that scene with Iris, when he finally agreed to her and he went and threw the notebook in the fireplace. As he gets up and walks away, he snaps his finger and fires a mini lightning bolt to ignite it. That was cool. Very cool. Like, what a cool little trick. We've never seen that before. And yet he's so in control of his lightning now that he can just, spark a fire. I thought that was just
no need for matches.
Just cool. Just fun.
Very cool.
That's really all I had to say. I did have a joke in here about when the nuclear blast did happen, that the extras that they used in that scene, those guys, the yoga girl, the business lady, the two men hugging, those actors were awful. Those were awful. And you could tell, these are probably just people that happen to be around. They're like, you want a scene in Flash because you live here in Vancouver? Come on. And like their acting was pretty bad. But well, that's all we got, guys. I think it's time for some Flash favorite scenes that we've never gotten to do before. Let's do that.
Shape out an eagle!
All right, and we are going to kick it off with mine. I call this one Wake Me Up Before You Go. I don't know how this one is going to play out as just a sound clip, but I loved that whole wake-up sequence when they just kept waking up over and over and over again because they kept dying. And I loved the scenes that were leading up to each death, but I loved Barry and Iris. This leads back to what we were talking about, Barry and Iris just having some good, fun times together finally. Every time they're, and they look at each other, and I love the very last one when she smacks him with the pillow. Like, I was laughing. It was a very fun sequence. So I'm going to play it, and we'll just, hopefully it sounds good with audio only. Here it goes.
Well, what do I do till then?
Just do what you always do today. Go to work. Okay, just go to work, and it'll be fine. It's going to be fine.
All you have to do is just say yes. Iris, this is your future empire. This is how it starts.
Let me think about it. Coffee?
Okay, so if we reverse engineer the photon relays inside this puppy, we should be able to trigger a reaction that'll negate the incursion.
Okay. That's weird. Sorry.
Let me guess. Whatever you and Chester didn't work.
Yeah, but don't worry, we're not going to make the same mistake twice.
It's just so simple. I don't know why.
All you have to do is just say yes. What do you say?
Not today.
What do you say?
Not today.
What do you say?
I say not today. Plus, I need more time to consider all the variables. And what I really want is a cocktail. Hey, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
You lying?
Nope.
15 times? We did this 15 times already?
Yes.
Guess I should probably keep this suit on, huh?
Look, the Starchive walls are 3 feet thick, so I will very carefully move it inside, and then we will use a remote drone for analysis. Until then...
Don't touch the battery. Just you. Can you... Thanks, man.
Okay, that played out okay. That was still funny. And that sequence alone made me feel so good about this episode. Like, wow, I have not just enjoyed Flash because it's good in a long time. So I really appreciated that scene.
Yeah. Agreed. I just enjoyed watching an episode where everything made sense.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Like it's really been a long time.
Yeah.
It's really been a long time.
All right, X-Force, what do you got?
All right, so this is the scene where Joe and Cecile talk some sense into Barry, and we're going to take a listen to it and then talk about it. So,
all right, here it is.
Guess somebody else had a bad day.
Join us for dinner, son?
Pasta carbonara, right?
How'd you know?
Lucky guess.
Lousy ending? I hate that too.
No, the opposite. It's a perfect ending. Iris isn't mine.
Is this book from 2049?
No, I made it. It's a chronicle of my future with Iris, or was. Now I don't know if we have one.
You're gonna move into this house?
Yeah. Yeah, a couple years from now, Nora chips a tooth on those stairs. And then right here on this couch is where Bart says his first word.
Barry. Sounds perfect.
It is. But Iris doesn't want to be tied down by what's in this book, so she's willing to risk letting it all go.
And you're afraid of losing her again, aren't you?
I mean, these last few years, her time sickness, the mirror universe, when I thought Thawne killed her, my whole world fell apart. So when I got her back, I swore I would do whatever I could to make sure that we always had a future.
You made this book yourself?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing you collected all the facts you possibly could.
Just like a good detective.
Barry, this book of yours may predict a future where Iris is safe with you. But is she happy? Because one thing this book doesn't do is tell you why things happen the way they did. And it damn sure can't tell you how people feel about it.
Barry, honey, Joe's right. The future isn't something that you can map out and put in a book. The future is something that it's something that you create with the people that you love.
Man, I love the Joe talks. The Joe advice are just, it's the heart of the show. And I love this his thoughts and Cecile adding into it, and the advice about you got to let things progress, and you can't shackle people down, and just the great advice that they give. And I loved it, but it also made me dread Joe's departure even more, because we've appreciated the advice that he has given to Barry and being that surrogate father that Barry has needed all these years. And I'm just going to miss that, because he is so grounded, and he knows Barry so well, and he knows Iris well, and he wants the best for him. So I really appreciated him saying, yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but it's not going to work if she's not happy. So
yeah, the Joe talks are similar to the Diggle talks on Arrow. It's just that same. There's one character that just has the wisdom and the calming by the sound of their voice to just calm our heroes down. And I just hope this isn't the only one we're going to get from Joe this season, because we need it.
Yeah, definitely.
Totally agree with you both. Yep.
Yeah.
Couldn't say it any better. So.
All right, Silverbox, what are you going to wrap us up with?
So I can't say enough how happy I am that they got things back on track with Barry and Iris. And when Barry walked out of Star Labs onto that walkway where Iris is standing, and she's just happy, and they're talking about how their future is not going to be mapped out, but it's just going to be something that they take on day by day. It just really brought all of that together for me, and I was like, thank goodness, we are back to it took me back to where Barry came in and sang to her, and when they were bringing their relationship together, I don't know if it was back in season 4 or 5, whenever it was, but it was it just was okay, we're back to where we're supposed to be with these two.
Yeah. All right, here's your clip.
Everything okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything is more than okay. Coast City Gazette is now a part of the CCC media empire. I got everything the book said I would, except I did it on my own terms.
That's great. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
So I've been thinking about what you said, how we should write our own future and enjoy every moment. These last few years, it feels like we've spent so much time saving the world. We never really got that classic newlywed experience.
Yeah, now I'm gonna be pregnant in 3 months. Feels like we just can't catch a break.
So let's make one. Together.
So what, you're suggesting a baby moon adventure?
Only let's not wait until the 3rd trimester. Just start right now.
Okay.
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 Yeah.
I think too, whatever's gone on with Candace, I have no idea. I don't get into the tabloid side of this, the show or any others, but she seems happy and settled in the role again, and maybe she's just really doing a good job as an actress to do that. But I felt so much more comfortable with her in this role, much more than I have in a very, very long time. And I don't know if it's just the fact that she knows it's coming to an end, therefore she's going to be settled in it. I don't know. I don't need to psychoanalyze it. I just feel good about how she portrayed Iris in this episode. And she seems so much more settled and comfortable in the role again. And so that was refreshing to me.
Totally. And it allowed the two of them to just work together and feel believable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully that continues on for the rest of the season. The one a point I wanted to throw in here, I thought I had in the notes somewhere, is I'm glad that the book's done with, because I was kind of concerned that this was going to be a relationship, troublesome thing for half the season or the whole season. I'm glad that they dealt with it. Boom, book's done, and they worked through their issue, and they're moving forward now. It's not going to be something they drag out.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Because that's what they used in their trailer. The trailer was all about the book and this and that. I'm like, oh man, this is what the season's going to be about. So good stuff. Well, we got something new that we're bringing to Tomorrow's Legends that is well known over on dive into DC and I believe Made of Steel, which is where Silvervox and Green Butterfly, who's not with us tonight, they are very used to this because this is part of their show, but we're going to include it over on us. It's called Cougar's Comic Corner because we got all of us together, and this is where Green Butterfly gathers some comic information for you from the comic books about, things that she's read or things she wants to, suggest that we all read, or it's based on what you guys are covering on your episode. So we're gonna talk about a little bit about that. I think X-Force has it all ready to go here.
So I'm just gonna do this. So a little bit of background on this is my co-host on Gotham Undercover, Scarlet Cougar, started this segment of delving into the comics, and this continued on Made of Steel, and John and Justina have carried it on, and so we're continuing on of digging into a little bit related material. And so Justina couldn't be with us tonight, but she did give us a comic book corner, so here it is.
Now for your Cougar's Comic Corner Flash Edition. Wow! The Flash 1 Minute War Special Number 1. A lot can happen in 60 seconds as the Flash event 1 Minute War rages on. Writer Jeremy Adams gives us further insights into the alien speedster race that has invaded Central City and how the Flash family fights back. This originally was released on January 31st and is available for $5.99 wherever you like to get your comics. And we have been told that this season will be 2 distinct comic arcs, and we haven't been told that it will be this comic arc in particular, but I was just interested to see if anything story element wise in this book influences what we see in the season. Also, as a PS to my feedback, I was wondering, do you think they chose football through attire to show telekinetic power because it's the Super Bowl this weekend? Green Butterfly wonders. Have a super week, everyone.
Huh. That's kind of funny, yeah. Because why would Central City or Star Labs have a rack of footballs just randomly there?
Because they have all the money they need and they can get whatever they want. Like all the tech that they destroy all the time.
Yes. So true. But interesting that this 1 minute war sounds intriguing. I might want to actually check that story out. That sounds kind of cool.
Yeah.
Just shout out to Justina. She puts these segments together over on Dive in the DC, and she'll continue to do that over here on Tomorrow's Legends. She does an amazing job of tying in the comic material to either what we are talking about currently or what we will be talking about in the next show. So she has carried this mantle on from Karen very, very, very well, and I can't say enough about my partner. Just love her.
That's some good research. Good research, and it's time consuming. So she puts a lot into those.
Definitely.
All right, for a lot of our new listeners coming to the show, we have a little segment that can allow you to support the show, and it's our Patreon account. If you just listen to this clip, it'll explain exactly what it's all about. It's how you can support the show financially with your hard-earned pennies as a way to say thanks for all the hours and work and effort we put into this entertainment medium for you guys. So this is what you got to do.
If you'd like to support our podcast, you can do so at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/tomorrowslegends.
Time to speak up. Believe it or not, what you think and you say means a lot to us. But why should we sit here and wait if you won't hurry up? So feedback or simply shut up.
Yes, it is feedback time. Thanks to Mr. Dan Caverly, as always, over at Quintex Entertainment for providing us with all our sound bites and clips and our introduction stuff. It's great. Let's kick it off with an email from Comic Geek Kev.
Hey, Legends. I'm really psyched that you guys are going to be doing the final season of The Flash. This show has had some real hits and misses, but as with the other shows you've covered, your show elevates the hits and soothes the misses. Unfortunately, I'll miss a month's worth as I will be going out of the country, but I'll be back for the end of the shortened season.
Oh.
The Flash has become one of those shows I keep watching pretty much because it has superheroes in it. The last seasons have been not great. I'm hoping that this final season is great, and I'm kind of heartened that it's not a full 20 episodes. It seems like almost every show, if it goes on long enough, does a Groundhog Day show.
That is true.
But at least with The Flash, his consistent messing with the timeline makes it a little more likely. Although the Legends episode with Sarah, quote-unquote, dying over and over was really good. Yes, it was.
And don't forget Zari's episode.
Yes.
One of my favorites.
Hedgehog Day.
Yes. Yes. First of all, Barry, knock for God's sake. You don't just super speed into somebody's house, even your family's. Yeah, you might run into some awkward situations there.
You just might.
Oh, goodness. I like that Barry and Iris took advantage of the loop to have some fun instead of being focused strictly on stopping the loop. Yeah, that's something we didn't talk about, their pool scene of just relaxing.
Yeah. Well, and it was so funny. Like, they gave Grant Gustin this supermodel coming out of the water in slow motion clip, which I was just laughing. Like, oh, he must be loving this.
The rest of the loop story was just meh. Fine, I guess.
Yeah.
One thing I really disliked about these shows is the inconsistencies in the way powers are treated. Now, Barry can phase an entire nuclear blast, and yet he's somehow not the most powerful person on the planet. Just wait. Next week, he won't be able to do anything nearly as impressive. All the shows do it. It's just annoying.
Yeah, he's got a point.
Yeah. For a time loop episode, this wasn't too bad, though. And I like the setup for the rest of the season, or at least part of it. And I'm looking forward to some guest stars and some returning favorites. I asked only one thing of this season. No more "You're my lightning rod." I know that's part of the West Allen love story, but enough already. I give this 6.5 out of 10 inexplicable, temporary, never explained, and never to be again power boost. Until next time, Comic Geek Kev.
Yes.
Good thoughts.
Well, one thing I can say, Kev, is we have never been described as elevating and soothing before.
Nice. Nice.
That's a pretty nice compliment. I will take that.
Now that we've got the Silver Vox on board, he can bring those smooth sounds.
Yeah. All right, well, moving on from that, we're going to get to a voicemail from Dreamweaver, which she added a note. Oh my goodness, I'm sending in feedback a whole day early. because I'll be working probably until 9:30 p.m. tomorrow, so I have to get it in now. Anyway, here's my feedback for The Flash, Season 9, Episode 1, Wednesday Ever After, and here is Dreamweaver.
Hello, Legendaires! Are we calling ourselves Speed Demons for this? I'll call us Speed Demons. Well, here we are. We're at the start of the last season of The Flash, a show that started out amazingly, offered really intriguing, fun, and emotive superpowered storytelling for what it was and what channel it was on, then took some considerable dips and taking our interest and patience with it, and now, somehow, lasting as the longest Arrowverse show, it's coming to an end finally. And with all that said, taking into context how humdrum a lot of the past few seasons have been, and with very inconsistent writing and overall not super engaging plot lines, I'm going to go ahead and rate this premiere episode a 9 Mornings of Waking Up Screaming out of 10. I gotta say,
Whoa.
I quite enjoyed this episode. That's the most I've enjoyed The Flash in a while. Honestly, it shouldn't have taken them 9 seasons to do a time loop episode when Barry can time travel, and I do wish this idea would have happened sooner, especially with building up Iris's and Barry's relationship, but better late than never, I guess. I know this is a final season with a shortened episode order, but the production quality looked really good. It looked better than it's been in years. It seems that they got a bumped up budget for this last season, at least for the lighting, and they may have also gotten to work on each episode longer than they normally would have with a 22 episode season. I did take some points off for how the time loop got resolved. They explained it, how it happened well enough with Flash's speed interfering with the reactor. Sure, fine, I can believe that. But the how of Iris and Barry getting out of it didn't exactly science. It charactered, but it didn't science. It was a good resolve for story and getting them to see each other's point of views and compromise and try things together, but not completely fulfilling to the plot. It also loses half a point for the not Caitlin, not Frost reveal. Not sure why they chose for it to happen with her just standing awkwardly at Star Labs to tell Barry, or why exactly at the end of this episode. They didn't need it as a teaser to come back to next week's ep when they already had the stinger with Red Death. But anyway, this felt like a return to form that we've been missing, with moments of seriousness, yet fun, with the waking up and the Barry and Chester montages, the mini vacation they got to take in the middle of the day. We got a Barry Joe moment before Joe becomes a guest star. We got some tie-ins to the greater Arrowverse with a Kat and Kara name drop, and some good teasers for what's to come. I will say that Barry is still being a bit of a dingus with wanting to keep a map book and knowing everything about their future, and it does come from a place of defense and not wanting bad things to happen to his friends and family considering all they've been through, but still a bit controlling dude. I was totally with Iris on that, not wanting to have my whole future mapped out and known. I'm really glad that Barry tempered by the end of the episode, and it wasn't something that they kept lingering. And so far, it does feel like a good track for Barry. I'm hoping that he sticks with that when the bigger threats come out to play as the season progresses, and he doesn't revert back to, I know everything, I'm in charge, Barry, but rather being a better leader. Also, I find it ironic that they decided, and yes, it did fall on a Wednesday on the calendar this year in our real time, but that they chose the time loop to fall on February 1st. I feel like that was part of a joke they were going for, with it being a Groundhog's Day take, that they couldn't actually get to the actual Groundhog's Day. Alright, so we got the start of the Rogues that are going to be filling out at least the first half of the season, and the trailer for next week showed at least 2 more returners in their post-crisis versions. We also got a quick tease of Red Death in this episode, and for a moment, I forgot she was coming, and I saw the red eyes and the blurred figure and thought they were lying to us about Reverse Flash. Then the symbol popped up and I remembered. But good tease, and I'm interested to see what they do there with her. So Caitlin isn't Caitlin or Frost, she's someone else. While blue has always been Caitlin's color, the blue streaks in the hair made me a bit suspicious that they were going to somehow make her cobalt blue. But there really isn't much else that makes me think they would go in that direction so far. I'm still really pushing and hoping that if we get a full-on cobalt blue, that it'll be Eddie. Don't ask me how, but I think that would be really interesting. Also, Barry faced through a nuclear blast. I still can't decide if I like that or not, but it was fun to watch. And I didn't get to send in feedback to your preseason episode on thoughts and theories, so I'm going to quickly run through my hopes here. So we know that Matt Lesher has been confirmed as a guest star, so I'm hoping this really, really means that we are going to get to see when Thawne first travels through time and meets Barry. The first moment he learns Barry's name, to be exact. I've been waiting for that for so long, and I hope that's something that gets carried through. That hasn't happened yet. We have seen Eobard come back from the future, but he hasn't learned Barry's identity yet. And while my biggest hope for the final season would be that they go back to the night Thawne killed Barry's mom and we get that original fight in the Allen house, I think that's been long abandoned since Eric Wallace took over as showrunner. I know there's been lots of timey-wimey stuff and a whole crisis sense, but that moment, to me, it still has to happen sometime in the future, and I want to see it. I'd also love for a Sisko return. I know he hasn't been confirmed, and even if it's just one episode, I just want to see Sisko back. Since it is Barry we're talking about, and he loves to time travel, there could so easily be a way toward one of the later episodes in the season to do a look back at the show, kind of like their version of a clip show that utilizes the Speed Force and such, similar to how Legends did their 100th, but with the Speed Force involved. I think that would be, a nice plot device that they have readily available to them. And hopefully they forget that all the other forces ever happened. I would also love to see Wally be given the mantle of the Flash. He more than deserves it, and they stopped really writing good, full storylines for him after he got his powers, except for a few spots here and there, and after he went on to Legends. While they've mentioned Barry in the future, as Green Butterfly mentioned in your coverage, we've never seen him as the Flash then, and he has the museum, so he could have retired that mantle to focus on just teaching his kids, or he could still lose his powers, or something else could still happen without Barry dying. I don't think they'll kill Barry, but I would love to see him ultimately really come into his self as a leader and make a sacrifice play, or humble himself to the other speedsters. And they said that Iris is going to be pregnant in 3 months in this episode, and that's approximately how long it takes for a 13-episode season to air, so I do see the finale ending with Iris pregnant with Nora. Ooh, and it would be pretty interesting if somehow we do get that reverse Flash fight back to the night Barry's mom dies, and his last act is him realizing that after everything that's happened, his mom, of course, still does have to die, but it has to happen in order for his daughter to be born this time. And after our Reverse Flash kills her, Barry uses the last of his speed, since he'd be losing it at that point since Reverse Flash is successful, to travel back to his present to be with everyone. But he realizes he's lost his speed. That would bring literally everything full circle, and it would also save Barry from being stuck in a 10-year time loop where his existence always ends with that fight, because Reverse Flash erases that timeline essentially, and the Flash appearing could just be him losing his speed. I'd also love to see some throwbacks to, Gideon and the newspaper that was in the Time Vault for so long. I would really like to see that come back into play. I know we've already had a crisis and all of that, but it was such a big integral part of the Flash's storylines that that'd be fun if that came back. Okay, so that ended up not being exactly quick thoughts, but I'm never really brief. But that should be all my thoughts for now. I am intrigued and looking forward to this final season. So, until next time, your friend Dreamweaver. And P.S. Go Eagles.
Yes, fly Eagles fly. You can't see me, but I'm wearing my Eagles Super Bowl sweater right now. One thing you definitely are not, Dreamweaver, is a dingus. I love those words. When you guys come up with these funny words nobody ever uses anymore. It's hilarious. Dingus. What you are, though, is always full of fantastic thoughts, and quite often they're running right in line with what I was having to say. So always good to hear that.
Awesome to hear from you, Dreamweaver. So good stuff. And I loved her Eddie coming in to be Cobalt Blue. That was divine inspiration. I love it.
So let's workshop that. How would that happen?
I don't know.
Because yeah. But it's cool.
Yeah. It's very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool idea.
Okay. Cool. Well, next up is an email from Bianca.
Bianca says, "Hello, super friends. I'm not normally a fan of time loop episodes because they're not always done well. This episode was aight, but it wasn't the best. Things I did like: Kara and Cat Grant shout-outs. Yeah. Iris getting tired of it all and just having wine and some snacks. The talk from Joe, I'm missing him already. Chester and Allegra, finally! The new Captain Boomerang. I know the actor from the 100, Mr. Murphy. And Iris and Barry finally spending some time together. Things I didn't like: Barry's obsession with the time map book and making those things happen. I wanted to reach out and smack him for not seeing why Iris was so upset. Red Death right out of the gate. I really thought we'd get that in the second half of this season.
Yeah.
And Iris just goes out in public hugging Barry while he's the Flash. Losing Frost and now Caitlin? Poor Caitlin could never catch a break, and now she's gone? After the last couple of years, we finally got great scenes with Iris and Barry. I hope this continues and we don't have communication problems for the rest of the series. One last thing, if Joe does leave Central City and Cecile and Jenna don't go with him, that would make zero sense and totally tick me off. My rating for Wednesday Ever After is 7.5 cannonball dives. Here's hoping next week is better. Signed, Bianca.
And that's a funny scene. After he stops Captain Boomerang and stops the explosion, and they are just on the street hugging each other. If you look in the whole background, there's life's just happening. The city never actually stopped. Like there was a lot happening in that scene. A bomb going off, lots of lightning bolts and boomerangs and everything, and there's just people walking by. Nothing's happening. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see.
And hopefully nobody's in listening range. But she calls him.
Yeah, she calls him Barry. She hugs him and she calls him Barry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like, well,
I'm sure there's jealous women somewhere going, "What? Why does she get to hug the Flash?" Yeah, exactly. What's going on? I saw you grab his butt in those red tights. Come on. All right. Awesome stuff, Bianca. Next up is our own Green Butterfly.
Hi, this is your eye in the sky green butterfly. Wow, I really don't like episodes where it's a time loop, so I'm really glad that they did resolve the Flash time loop midway through, so we didn't have to do that story element the whole time. And I'm really, really glad that Barry got rid of his book, because I was really concerned that he was going to become obsessed with it, and I understand his feeling that he needs to protect his kids, and he likes some of the things that he has seen in the future in 2049, and he wants to preserve that. But it's also super important to let time unfold naturally and make decisions on what is best at that time, and let time evolve as it will, as opposed to trying to force the timeline to stay a certain way. And I was worried that he would get so obsessed with the future that he would forget to be present in today, in the present time. So I'm really glad that he got rid of that. I think my favorite thing about this episode is the compelling mystery of what is been born of Caitlin and Frost. I think that is something that I am very, very excited for this season. I might even say it is what I'm most looking forward to learning the story of, and what that character is going to evolve to be. And I love Danielle Panabaker, and I love the different elements that she brings to her different characters, so I'm excited to meet this new one and see where we're at with that. All in all, I give this episode 8 out of 10 burned books. I gotta fly. Have a super week.
Yeah. Nope. Good thoughts as always. Can't wait to have you on the show with us to discuss them live. Or pre-recorded, I guess. Good to hear from you, Green Butterfly. Next up is Perry White.
Hey, Speed Demons. Perry White here with feedback for The Flash's Season 9 premiere episode entitled Wednesday Ever After. I'm going to go ahead and give this episode a rating of 7.5 out of 10. If I had to rate the first, say, 40 minutes of the episode, I might have given it a 3 or a 4. It was full of angst, all the terrible things that I do not like about the Barry-Iris relationship. But the last 15 minutes, in my opinion, sort of redeemed everything. we got to see sort of the fun and flair and frivolity that the Barry and Iris relationship has not really had in such a freaking long time, man. It's like, we know that they are in love, but the show never did a really good job of sharing with us sort of why that was, or more importantly, how they expressed their love for each other. I mean, good Lord, man, I was just so tired of hearing or seeing either one of the two of them crying about something. It was just nice to see them get to laugh and smile and enjoy some good times together. I hope the writers give us more of that throughout the remainder of the season. Beyond that, what I really loved about the episode was, I mean, how can you forget the tease that we have at the end there of, I guess, what the title character is called, Red Death, I think is what she's called, sort of the Batman character sort of mixed with the Flash. I'm really intrigued and interested to see what the show does with that character and how that sort of protagonist is different from some of the villains that we've seen on the show so far. I'm not going to lie, I was kind of hoping that this new character that's sort of like not Killer Frost and not Caitlin Snow, I was hoping that somehow that character was going to be sort of the ultimate brains of the villain outfit that we were going to see this season. But that does not seem to be the case, and perhaps by episode 2, according to the showrunners, we should find out exactly who this new character is, and hopefully, obviously during the season, we'll find out more of what this character is about. I'll say this, I am interested and intrigued to see what The Flash does with its final season, which is more than I could have possibly said, say, 2 or 3 seasons ago. And to be honest, it's more than I could have said basically watching the first 40 minutes of this episode. But like I said, the last 15 to 20 minutes had me hooked. It has me interested. It has me involved. And I am excited to see how this thing concludes. I am interested to hear what other folks have to say about the episode, and I am looking forward to it. This is Perry White making another deadline, and I'm out.
Interesting, he says 40 minutes. For me, really only the opening 6-7 minutes, and then from there it just kept growing and getting better. Man, 40 minutes is most of the episode.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think there's just an instinct that they've not always handled these relationship dynamics the best, right? So I think the instinct is, oh boy, here we go. And it's just going to snowball from here. But I agree with you, Flash. I think the way this just kept building and kept getting more and more comfortable with the two of them, the more comfortable the whole story got. So but I can certainly understand where Perry's coming from there.
Yeah. There's a lot of bad taste to wash out of her mouth from the last couple of seasons. So so maybe we just have to get Chester to concoct some type of super mouthwash to just get rid of it. And on we go. Awesome stuff all around, guys. Great to get so much feedback on our very first Flash episode. Let's hope that it continues. Yeah. Let's hope this goes on for the rest of the season, guys. So to do that, if you want to be part of the show, just follow these instructions.
If you would like to be a part of the show, you can send in your feedback to Tomorrow's Legends Podcast at gmail.com. You can also reach us on Twitter at Tomorrow's Legends. We'd love you to join our Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/Tomorrow's Legends and become part of the community.
Alrighty, that wraps up Season 9, Episode 1 of our Flash coverage. This was fun, guys. Like, the three fellas, I know we missed Green Butterfly, but the three fellas here to kick it off, and we had, I think, a good discussion.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks for having us on. both Justine and me. And we'll be popping in and out. Not every week, but we will do our best to make it on over every chance that we can. So I really appreciate the invitation, and would love everybody to join us over on Dive Into DC podcast. We just wrapped up our episode on the Spotify podcast Batman Unburied, and we're looking forward to the Harley Quinn podcast that Spotify is offering, and that's what we're talking about next. So
great stuff. Yeah, it's good. It's always good to promo what's coming next. You guys are always on the ball about what you got going on, so
yeah,
good stuff. Definitely, guys, go over to Dive Into DC. That is our sister show, and they do great stuff over there. And if you love DC, you just got to check them out for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And then don't forget, The Mandalore is covering the Bad Batch Season 2 right now, and we're also prepping for Season 3 of The Mandalorian, which is coming soon.
What a week of the Bad Batch, man.
Oh, that double episode, yeah.
Woo, man.
Good stuff around. So check all that out. And then, one thing I wanted to bring up, which I forgot to say earlier, is we've still got our listener lounge, guys. That's something that our Legends listeners and Superman and Lois and Stargirl listeners will know what that is. It's for our Patreon supporters. It's a chance for you to send in an extra question that we will answer in a separate podcast only for our Patreon supporters. So it's a very private thing, and a lot of times our supporters will send in personal questions. It's not always show related. It'll be, hey, what kind of movies do you guys like? And we'll just talk about movies for 20 minutes or whatever. So it's fun. It's just a way to say thank you to our supporters, to get you guys some extra content. So when you guys send in feedback going forward, just add in a little extra question at the end. Say, hey, this is my Patreon bonus question, and away you go, and we can start the conversation and stuff like that. So,
yep,
there you go. That is all we got for you guys this week. Can't wait to episode 2. This is The Flash signing off.
This is the Silver Vox. We'll see you next time in Central City.
This is X-Force 11. So say we all.
Tomorrow's Legends is not affiliated with CBS, Warner Brothers, HBO, or the CW. We're a fan-made podcast for entertainment purposes only and are part of the Cybercast Network. Be sure to check out our partner shows, The Mandalore and Dive Into DC, covering your favorite Star Wars and DC Comics properties. Thanks for listening.